Imagine a quiet fortress town at the edge of a winding river, where a single bridge becomes the deciding factor between triumph and defeat. In the early 16th century, Europe was fractured by political schemes and territorial ambitions, and Italy was the epicenter of relentless warfare. But it was here, in the small locale of Governolo, where an intense showdown would reverberate far beyond the battlefield. Welcome, dear viewers, to a story of cunning strategies, unexpected alliances, and the unwavering determination that shaped the course of Italian history. Welcome to our in-depth exploration of the Battle of Governolo, a pivotal encounter that unfolded amid the tumultuous backdrop of the War of the League of Cambrai. During this era, powerful states vied for dominance, forging and breaking alliances at lightning speed, all while the fate of entire populations hung in the balance. Governolo, with its strategic bridge controlling the passage over the Mincio River, became a focal point of tension. Over the next 30 minutes, we will journey through the political intrigues, personal rivalries, and brave confrontations that ultimately culminated in a confrontation at this little-known yet crucial fortress. Join me as we step back in time to experience the drama, the sacrifice, and the significance of the Battle of Governolo. Our story begins in the early 1500s, a period of unease across the Italian peninsula. Powerful city-states like Venice, Milan, and Florence grappled for prominence, while France, Spain, and the Holy Roman Empire intervened, each seeking a foothold in these fertile and prosperous lands. The War of the League of Cambrai itself was born from a coalition orchestrated by Pope Julius II, who sought to curb the influence of the Republic of Venice. At first, the alliance seemed unstoppable. France, the Papal States, and the Holy Roman Empire all converged on Venetian territory. Venice, though wealthy, found itself outnumbered and forced into a defensive posture. Governolo, a modest fortress near the confluence of key waterways, took on an outsized role in this conflict. Venice recognized it as a critical point for securing supply lines and restricting enemy movements. Meanwhile, the Franco-Papal forces saw Governolo as the perfect vantage point for launching deeper incursions. Maps of the era highlight the importance of the Mincio River corridor. Whoever controlled it effectively held the gateway to Mantua and beyond. This was not just a battle for territory, it was a battle for strategic dominance, one that would define Italy's evolving political landscape for years to come. Central to this story is the Venetian Condottiero Ludovico di Pitigliano, renowned for his resourcefulness under pressure and his ability to motivate soldiers in dire circumstances. On the opposing side were formidable captains serving under French King Louis XII and the Papal commander, each determined to claim a swift victory. Negotiations broke down amid sharp disagreements, and espionage became rife. Governments in distant courts waited with bated breath to see whether Venice could persevere against overwhelming odds. The Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I hovered at the edges, calculating the best moment to deploy his armies and reap the rewards. Meanwhile, Pope Julius II's motivations were far from purely spiritual. His ambition was to neutralize Venice as a regional competitor. Militarily, France was a tour de force, but internal rivalries often complicated joint efforts. In essence, the Battle of Governolo was never just about two opposing camps. It was a complex web of shifting loyalties and personal ambition, a microcosm of the larger war shaking Italy to its core. In the months leading up to the battle, tensions soared. Minor skirmishes along the fringes tested each side's mettle. Spies crossed enemy lines to gather intelligence on supply convoys and troop movements. Tacticians studied the maps of Lombardy, seeking any advantage they could exploit. Rivers became both highways for weapons and obstacles to maneuvering large armies. Control of vital bridges took precedence, as they were the arteries through which reinforcements and provisions flowed. Eventually, all eyes turned to Governolo. While smaller conflicts played out to the east and west, the fortress stood as an unyielding bulwark, a bastion that neither side could ignore. Farmers and villagers found themselves caught in the crossfire, forced to flee or assist as guides under duress. For the Republic of Venice, holding Governolo meant sustaining hope of regaining lost ground and repelling foreign forces. For the Franco-Papal faction, capturing it promised a swift, decisive pathway toward the Venetian heartland. When the armies finally converged on Governolo, the tension was palpable. Drums echoed across the fields as rows of heavily armored pikemen took position under the hot Italian sun. Venetian artillery had been painstakingly ferried down the river, but the Franco-Papal contingent brought their own advanced cannonry to bear. By all accounts, the initial salvo was thunderous, sending plumes of smoke skyward. Venetian soldiers, accustomed to fighting on home turf, took advantage of the terrain, employing a fluid defensive strategy that played to their strengths along waterways. Swampy patches and hidden ditches disrupted heavy cavalry, but the French knights, famous for their ferocity, pressed on with relentless determination. Through this initial exchange, neither side could claim a decisive edge, though casualties mounted as dusk approached. Still, the sense that this was only the beginning loomed large over the campfires that night. At daybreak, the battle roared back to life. Commanders on both sides reorganized their troops, rallying them to renewed assaults. Venetian crossbowmen launched volleys from behind hastily erected barricades, aiming to disrupt enemy formations. Meanwhile, French infantry advanced in disciplined ranks, their steel glinting in the sun. Horses stamped impatiently, waiting for the bugles to sound the charge. Some of the fiercest fighting erupted around the bridge itself. Countless soldiers fell into the river as combatants shoved and grappled for every inch of ground. The sound of clashing swords and snapping pikes ricocheted across the fortress walls. In the mayhem, acts of remarkable bravery emerged. Venetian captains leading last-minute counterattacks, or French knights plunging into the thick of battle to rescue wounded comrades. All the while, the fortress towers rained arrows upon anyone venturing too close to its formidable ramparts. As the day wore on, both armies adapted their tactics. Ludovico di Pitigliano orchestrated a feigned retreat, luring segments of the French and Papal soldiers into a narrow bottleneck near the fortress walls. There, waiting crossbow units unleashed a barrage of missiles, inflicting heavy losses. Sensing an opportunity, Venice's cavalry rushed in to break the isolated columns. For a moment, it appeared the defenders might rout the attackers entirely. However, the Franco-Papal coalition quickly rallied, drawing upon disciplined reserves. Fresh cavalry units stormed the Venetian flank, reversing the momentum. In the chaos, command chains blurred. Smoke from cannon fire obscured the battlefield, making it nearly impossible to distinguish friend from foe. Survivors of the day would later recount that the second phase of the Battle of Governolo was among the most chaotic and grueling episodes of the entire War of the League of Cambrai. With neither side gaining a definitive upper hand, the confrontation stretched on. Supplies for the Venetian defenders ran dangerously low, prompting calls to break out or risk starvation. The Franco-Papal alliance, while better provisioned, also faced diminishing resources due to extended supply lines. Soldiers on both sides were physically and mentally exhausted. The toll on morale became evident in the late stages, as desertions increased under the relentless strain. Yet amidst the exhaustion, loyalty and passion for one's cause kept many soldiers in the fight. The Venetian command structure imposed strict discipline, threatening dire consequences for retreat without orders. Meanwhile, the Franco-Papal forces pushed on with the promise of glory and tangible rewards, loot, territories, and the personal favor of powerful rulers. As the final hours approached, both camps prepared for a definitive showdown. Under a sky streaked with the colors of dusk, the last major assault commenced. Volley after volley of artillery hammered the walls, shaking foundations built generations prior. Gaping breaches allowed assault troops to scale the ramparts, where fierce hand-to-hand combat erupted. Inside the fortress courtyard, Venetian defenders used improvised barricades, turning every corner into a deadly trap. Eventually, exhaustion took its toll. The defenders found themselves overwhelmed by sheer numbers, but their resistance was legendary, buying time for part of the Venetian force to retreat in an orderly fashion. Many consider this final stand a tactical success for the Venetians, despite the strategic loss. For the Franco-Papal victors, capturing Governolo was a symbolic milestone, proving that Venice was not invincible. The outcome would ripple through diplomatic circles, as once neutral observers reconsidered which side to back. Following the fall of Governolo, the Republic of Venice was forced to re-evaluate its military posture. Though bruised, Venice regrouped and continued to fight in other theaters, showing remarkable resilience. The Franco-Papal alliance, momentarily buoyed by victory, discovered that holding their newly acquired positions proved equally challenging. Italy's political map did not settle into stability. The region remained fraught with tensions, rebellions, and further battles. Nevertheless, the memory of Governolo endured as a testament to strategic fortifications and the ferocious determination of forces on both sides. Historians debate the extent to which the Battle of Governolo influenced the larger war of the League of Cambrai, but it undoubtedly served as a moral lesson in the power of cohesive defense and the complexities of alliances. In time, shifting coalitions and the rise of new powers would transform the peninsula yet again, making the episodes at Governolo an essential chapter in a centuries-long saga of conflict and political recalibration. Thank you for joining me on this immersive journey through the Battle of Governolo. We've witnessed how a seemingly modest fortress and a humble bridge became arenas for military ingenuity and heroic sacrifices. More than just a physical confrontation, Governolo symbolizes the intricate web of alliances, ambitions, and resilience characterizing Italy's tumultuous history. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into 16th century warfare, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more fascinating historical documentaries. Until next time, remember, each battle, no matter how small or overlooked, can reshape an entire nation's destiny.